Shalom. First and foremost, I want to start by giving all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Recha HaKodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone who rule well and teach well, and peace and blessings to the hopeful elect, pushing this word with all truth, righteousness, and understanding. Shalom, shalom. This is your brother Quantum Wild up the Great Millstone Charlotte Camp. Come with a quick lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai. And just a, quick land back off the Elder Manata Zakba, here, these videos he has going out with Esau crashing out, man, right? And, as I got the lesson titled, right, the squeeze continues, right? And this is what we're going to start to see, right, ramp up is, people, this spirit of desperation, right? People wanting to give up, right? Esau throwing in the towel, right? Because the squeeze from these so-called elites is taking place, but we're also seeing the squeeze ultimately by the spirit of Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai, man, right? Because he's wrapping things up, right? He's putting the squeeze to intensify these tribulations, to intensify, right, these judgments, right? And we're seeing these people start to feel it, right? And so I'm gonna play this video, and then we're going to get some scriptures, Lord willing.
Okay, I got 3 vehicles, all 3 of which got a V8 in them, okay? And look, I ain't never worried about fuel mileage necessarily. I'll make it work. That's the price you pay to drive a V8. But gas is $4.30 a gallon in my neck of the woods, okay? And that's just for regular gas, okay? That ain't even premium, that's just regular. And now they're putting this E10 and E15 in it that is like literal cancer for old vehicles. It's like running paint stripper through your fuel system, okay? It's just not good for it, okay? Well, I mean, what the fuck are y'all trying to do? You got flock cameras going up. You're making a mandate that all new vehicles made after 2026 have got to have cameras and kill switches and AI technology in them. Man, this is just not a fucking world I want to be a part of anymore. Like, it's just the more I think, the more shit that happens, the more shit you see on the news. Every time you get on social media, it's just more and more and more and more and more bullshit that they just keep on piling and piling and piling and piling and piling. It's like, God damn it, I'm about to fucking explode, man. Like, fuck, I don't want to do this shit no fucking more. God, I can't wait for the fucking end. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to die, but I'm so sick of this and I see what the future holds. I don't want to do that either. So fucking take me out now. Kill me in my sleep. Fuck this shit. I don't want to keep doing this. And the sad thing is the next generation and the generation after that are being programmed now to not think about it, to just accept it, to just go with it. That's what they want. They want to train the kids to not think about the fact that the government's going to have complete and total control of all of your fucking movements, Jack. And they're not just going to know where you're at. They're going to be able to control where you're at. And it's like, this is not the America that I was promised. It's not the America that our forefathers promised. It's not the America that we fought for. What the fuck are we doing?
Let me get this straight. work, $80 in gas, work, groceries, keep myself alive. Bounce house, $250. Work, unexpected bill, debt, work, pay off debt, work, pay off mistake from 5 years ago, pay off more debt, work, be tired, work some more, work more. I'm tired of donating my life. Work and pay bills and pay off debt. I'm paying off mistakes from years ago. Who gives a crap that you're tired? Nobody cares. Nobody cares that you're tired. The bills don't care. Work and pay bills and work and pay debt and work and pay bills and work.
I'm bored again. I would say that we're going to make fun of some white people, but the video I'm about to show you did not put me in a joking mood. In fact, it pissed me off. And what I have to say about it might piss you off too.
So one of the things that used to really haunt me about our nation is how easily things could have gone differently for the black community at several points in our...
But that's the point, man. Right. What we're seeing right now is people get put into that squeeze, man. Right? Now I want to grab this here, because these elites are creating this a position where people are going to be, so desperate that they're going to, see this mark of the beast that they're going to, offer them as a sense of salvation, right? Because that's what it's all leading to, Now, this is 2nd Ezra chapter 16, and we'll start in 37. It reads, "Behold, the plagues draw nigh, and are not slack. As when a woman with child in the 9th month bringeth forth her son, with 2 or 3 hours of her birth, great pains compass her womb, which pains, when the child cometh forth, they slack not a moment. Even so shall not the plagues be slack to come upon the earth, and the world shall mourn, and sorrow shall come upon it on every side." And that's what we're in the beginning of, man, right? Those sorrows coming upon the earth on every side, the squeeze being felt in every facet of, of life, right? Everybody's feeling it right now, and, Esau is just, they're suffering because they've never had to feel it, right? But now it's encompassing every facet of society, right? From top to bottom. That's why it says, right, rich and poor, free and bond are going to receive that mark, man, right? Because everybody's going to be in that same state of desperation, and like the two, Edomites in the video, right? They're crashing out because they were promised a certain lifestyle, man, right? They thought they were going to be able to partake, right, in the, what's the word? The spoils, right? And now they're seeing that they're not going to get their slice of the pie, right? They get lumped in with the rest of us, and that's why they're losing it, But everybody's going to be losing it out here soon. Come, you're going to see, right? His videos of so-called blacks, right? Everybody, right, crashing out because of the American dream, right? Is far from it, Let's go here. Amos chapter 5, right? And we'll read this in the NLT, verse 18. It says, "What sorrow awaits you who say, if only the day of the Lord were here," right? So that guy was talking about he ready for the end, right? He doesn't understand what he's asking for, man, right? If he thinks it's hard now, how much worse is it going to get, right? Right? How much, as the scriptures say, if they do these things in the green tree, what more the dry, right? Let's get that real quick. Because it hasn't even gotten bad yet, man, right? This is Luke chapter 23 and verse 31. "For if they do these things in a green tree, what shall be done in the dry?" Right? So if they do these things in the time of so-called prosperity, right, which we haven't even felt the full effects of the Hormuz closure, right? That's going to be coming up in these coming weeks, months, man, right? So while things are still so-called going according to business or whatever, what are they going to do once we are in a state of, desperation, man, right? Once America is, on lockdown, once there is a shortage of food, right? Once there really is a shortage of gas and oil and, all these natural resources that, right, that are slowly being consumed, right, without being replenished, right? What are they gonna do then? Right? It's gonna be every day you're gonna start seeing videos like that, and that's Esau they're gonna start killing themselves and things of that nature, man, right? And that's gonna, again, that mark of the beast is gonna be presented as a lifeline, man, a sense of salvation, right? Something to ease the pain, right? And that's why all these people are gonna end up taking it, man, right? The only ones who are gonna refuse it are the elect, right? The elect ultimately, you'll have people scattered amongst, right, that refuse to take it, right? But they're not going to receive the covering of the Lord, man, right? Let's get, actually, let me see what that says here. If there's anything good in here. Let's go back to that Amos. It's the book of Amos, chapter 5 and verse 18 in the NLT. It says, "What sorrow awaits you who say, if only the day of the Lord were here. You have no idea what you're wishing for. That day will bring darkness and not light," right? So they have no idea what they're asking for, man, right? There's no good at the end of the rainbow for Esau either, man, right? Everything they want to see this place go down, so so do we. But we have a kingdom to look forward to, right? All you other heathen have captivity to look forward to, and then Esau, right, your ultimate destruction, right, being wiped away from existence, right? But in the meantime, you're gonna have to suffer, right, through these turmoils, right, through what's gonna be taking place during Jacob's trouble, right? Even though it's designed for Jacob, right, for you Israelites, for your punishment and for your disobedience, you Edomites and other nations are gonna be suffering as well, man, right? So you have no idea what you're asking for when you ask for, for things to end, man, right? Sure, it'll lift the burden of that responsibility, but it's going to throw a whole another monkey wrench, right, in your plans, man, right? It says in that day, verse 19, "You will be like a man who runs from a lion only to meet a bear. Escaping from the bear, he leans his hand against a wall in his house, and he is bitten by a snake," right? So every corner, every area, right, of escape, every route has been covered, man, right? There's nowhere to go, nowhere to hide, right? That squeeze, right? The Lord is cornering everybody, man, and he's using these devils to do it, right? He's he's the rod of his indignation, man, right? The Lord is using this devil to do all of this, man. It says in that day, or it's like verse 20, "Yes, the day of the Lord will be dark and hopeless," right? Hopeless, without a ray of joy or hope. And that's what's coming, right? That squeeze is going to get tighter and tighter and tighter, right? To the masses, see no way out, right? And that mark of the beast, that microchip, is going to be presented as a way out, right? A way out of the darkness, right? As a glimmer of hope, so to speak, right? Which is ultimately you signing your soul over to this devil, man, right? Let's go here. This is 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 and verse 1. "But of the times and seasons, brethren, ye have no need that I write unto you. For yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night." And how do we know? It's because we're constantly on our watch, man, right? Day in and day out, right? paying attention to what's taking place in regards to prophecy, man, right? Listening to the Spirit that's speaking through, starting with our apostles and, elders and brothers on down, man, right? Knowing, how close we are to our salvation and knowing what our salvation entails in regards to, our day-to-day lives, man, right? Because we know that it's going to be a big shakeup, right, in the your day-to-day, right? Because we know, as it says, so the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night, right? Unexpectedly, right? And before you know it, right? That's why you make the preparation now, right? Getting good graces with Yahweh Shem Yahushai now, man, right? As the scripture says, set your house in order, right? It says, for when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them as travail upon a woman with child, right? So this is the same way it's described in Second Esdras. It's the same way it's described here in First Thessalonians, right? It's described throughout the scriptures as a pregnant woman because that once that water breaks unexpectedly, right, then there's no stopping it, man. And that's where we're at in prophecy, right? We're in those what's it called, the Braxton Hicks, right? Those contractions, It says for when they shall say peace and safety, right? And that's what's being presented to people is peace and safety, comfort, right? Things that are what's the word? Convenient, right? That's part of that peace and safety, right? Then sudden destruction cometh upon them, right? That's the squeeze, right? We're in the midst of sudden destruction, right? It hasn't hit its full sufficiency, right? But we're watching things unfold, right? Now, when you're watching it, it seems to be taking its time, right? But for those who aren't, it's gonna feel like it comes overnight, man, right? And that's why these people are crashing out the way they are, right? Because they don't know why things got so bad so fast, right? But it's the will of the Lord, right? Allowing things to happen like this because it's facilitating the end of this Babylonian infrastructure, man, right? The so-called American way, right? This hegemony is being ripped up from the roots, man. It says, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape, right? There's no way out, man. If you're not on the side of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, it's over, right? And it's a good thing because this is going to lead to a more fruitful earth, man, right? The destruction of this place is going to lead to the betterment of existence as a whole, as the scriptures say. So let's get that, right? As we watch the fall of our enemies. This is Sirach 25 and verse 7. There be 9 things which I have judged in my heart to be happy, and the 10th I will utter with my tongue. A man that hath joy of his children, and he that liveth to see the fall of his enemy, man. Right? To see this downfall is a beautiful thing, man. Right? We know we have to suffer much tribulation, right? As the scriptures say, right? But it's a beautiful thing, We're in the midst of that squeeze as well. That's why when you read in Jeremiah 30 and 7, it says he will be saved out of Jacob's trouble, man. Right? So Jeremiah 30 and 7, alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it, man. Right? So we're going to be, right, in the midst of all this, right? But you don't see brothers crashing out. You don't see believers crashing out, making videos, crying on the camera because of what's going on, man. Because we know why it's going on, right? We don't have any uncertainty, right, about the reasoning of these things, man. We know it's the will of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, taking place in the earth. Now, I think there was something in this commentary. See. Yep. This so it says, but he shall be saved out of it. It says through this time of incomparable tribulation, right? This is what we're going into. A time of incomparable tribulation to come against the Jewish people, right? You Israelites. The Most High will rescue them and bring them his salvation, being Yahweh Shai. He will protect them, as in Revelation 12 and 6, right? You know, I think Revelation 3 and 10 as well, right? Being kept in that time of temptation. And bring them to faith in their Messiah, Yahweh Shai HaMashiach, right? It says Jeremiah is stating that before the judgment, the just mentioned promise of restoration can be fulfilled, the nation must be severely disciplined, but not to the extent of final calamity, right? Because there's an elect, right, among that number, right, that's going to be redeemed out, right? But he shall be saved out of it, not from it, but yet out of it, right? That's the point, right? We're not going to be saved before these things, take place, man, right? That cuts the whole, rapture doctrine and all that, man, right? We're in the midst of this squeeze as well, man, right? That's why I put that image as the thumbnail, right? That serpent is squeezing the whole earth, man, right? We're all in the midst of this, man. And as things get to reaching the tipping point, right, we're going to be there as well, man. But the Lord is on our side, right? The Lord is going to be there to fight for us, right? That's why it says not from it, but yet out of it, man, right? So we're going to be pulled out of that fire, man, right? Before those nukes hit, the elect are going to be, raised up, right? And brought and covered, man, and kept, right? In the midst of these famines, right? In the midst of the droughts, right? In the turbulence of the sedition, man, right, throughout the wars, right, that are gonna be taking place, man, the dangers and whatnot that are gonna be, across the land, right. The Lord is gonna keep his, man, right. Let me see if there's anything else there. It says the Jewish people, those not yet trusting in their Messiah, will endure this time of Jacob's trouble and be saved out. But the only ones who are going to be saved are the ones who trust in Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai. So that's off right there, man. Right? 2/3 are going to suffer, right? And fall victim to Jacob's trouble. But the elect are going to be saved out of it, right? The elect are going to endure that time, right? And be saved out of it, So let's go back. First Thessalonians chapter 5 and verse 3. For when they shall say peace and safety, right, and that's what's being presented through this AI, right, through this digital infrastructure, right, that's going to ultimately be in that mark of the beast, right, that idol that they're going to push on the masses, right, on the world, right. It says, for when they shall say peace and safety, sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape, right? So, again, the squeeze continues, right? It's not going to stop. There's once that ball gets to rolling, it's a wrap, But ye brethren are not in darkness, that that day should overtake you as a thief. Ye are all children of light, and the children of the day. We are not of the night, nor of darkness, right? So we're, we have the light, being Yahweh Shai, man, right? Giving us this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, giving us this foresight into what's taking place, right? Being able to, prepare in the spirit, for what we're about to see, what we're about to face, right? So that we have we're rooted, right? We have that fortitude, right, to endure what we're about to go through, man, right? Through the spirit of Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai, Let's go here. It's Ezekiel chapter 7. And we'll start in verse 1. In the NLT, it says, "Then this message came to me from the Lord, Son of man. This is what the sovereign Lord says to Israel," right? So this is what's being told, right? And this is speaking on the land as a whole, man, right? Not just, right, the people, but it's speaking on, right, wherever we're at. You know, the majority of us being in Babylon the Great, but wherever there are Israelites, it's about to feel this message right here, man, right? It says, the end is here. Wherever you look, east, west, north, or south, your land is finished, right? Again, the squeeze is continuing, right? And everybody, all these people are going to be in that same state, right, that those two Edomite men were right at the beginning of the lesson, man, right? Screaming into the camera, crying over gas prices, crying over debt, crying over bills, right? And it's just going to get worse and worse and worse and worse, man. That's why it says here, verse 3, no hope remains. That's it, man. These people have nothing to look forward to, right? We have something to look forward to because we know the end goal, man, the end result, right? That's why the scriptures say the Lord gave us an expected end, right? These people have no idea what to expect, but we do. That's why we're at peace, man, right? That's why we can, continue on our day to day and not lose it like the rest of these people, man. That's why we have that Isaiah 33:6, right? That stability that's offered, right, through this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, right? And through the fear of the Lord, right, which is our treasure. It says, no hope remains, for I will unleash my anger against you. And we're just in the very beginnings of the anger of the Lord being, unveiled, man, right? It's going to get a lot worse. I will call you to account for all your detestable sins. And that's what we're seeing, right? These, as brothers put in the chat, right? These curses are falling upon our enemies now, man, right? It says, I will turn my eyes, and it's happening because of what they're doing in the earth, man, right? What they did to the Lord's people, right? And what they've continued to do, they're going to be recompensed, man, right? They're going to be paid for their works, It says, I will turn my eyes away and show no pity. I will repay you for all your detestable sins. Then you will know that I am the Lord, because the world doesn't know Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, man, right? So he has to make his presence felt, right? It's going to be, what's the word? Undeniable, right? Who did this, right? Once we see the end, man, right? There's going to be no question, right, who the power of the Israelites is at that day, because they forgot, right? And he's a long time held his peace, right? Because I think it's Hosea 4:1. Yep. Hosea 4:1. Hear the word of the Lord, you children of Israel. For the Lord had a controversy with the inhabitants of the land, right? So he's had this controversy from the beginning, right? That's why it says he has that indignation against Esau, man, right? Right, that hatred of Amalek, right, forever. The controversy with the inhabitants of the land, because there is no truth, nor mercy, nor knowledge of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai in the land, right? So that knowledge is going to be restored, right? It's going to be brought back to know, right, who the power of the whole the universe is, man, right? And who his people are. So again, it said, verse 4 here, Ezekiel 7:4 in the NLT, I will turn my eyes away and show no pity. I will repay you for all your detestable sins. Then you will know that I am the Lord. Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai is going to be known in that day, right? This is what the sovereign Lord says. Disaster after disaster is coming your way, right? Brothers, often go into the poly crisis, man, right? But it's all tied together, man. It's all the will of the Lord being exercised, right? The polycrisis is going into the famines, the plagues, right? The economic downturn, right? The natural disasters, sedition, all these things are all coming at once, man, right? One after another, right? And that's part of the squeeze, man, right? Because these things they're being orchestrated by Esau Edom, but it's also ultimately being orchestrated by Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, right? Because he is the left hand, right? Right? Esau is the left hand power that the Lord is using, right, to judge these people. Verse 7. O you people of Israel, your day of destruction. Actually, I skipped one, Salakia. We'll start back at 5. This is what the sovereign Lord says. Disaster after disaster is coming your way. The end has come. It has finally arrived. Your final doom is waiting, right? So this is just the beginning, man, right? And that squeeze is going to continue to get tighter and tighter and tighter, right? Until the ultimate destruction through those nuclear missiles, man, right? So there's no going back. There's no hope left in this place for you Edomites, for you 2/3 niggas out here who want to hold on to Babylon the Great and try to build something, to build a name in this society, right? It's over, right? The doom is already written, right? And it's just waiting to be executed, you know? And in the midst of that, as we're watching, it's going to continue to get worse and worse and worse until it reaches that climax, man, you know? So that's pretty much the point, you know? Again, that squeeze is continuing, man, right? And there's going to be more videos coming out like that. You tune into the Elder Manata Zakba, right? Right? Day in and day out, right? He's got people crashing out, right? Over, you know, the downfall of Babylon the Great, man, right? What's happening in America, and people, you know, trying to seek help, find hope, and not seeing it and not finding it, man, you know? So this is going to be regular occurrence, but you know, again, Lord willing, that was edifying through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. I want to close by giving all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Recha HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well and teach well. And peace and blessings to the hopeful elect, pushing this word with all truth, righteousness, and sincerity. Shalom, shalom. Kwame Yasharallah and Abad Babal. Shalom.